Hello, everyone, and welcome to Inside American History. I'm your host, Joshua Wiles. In this podcast, we will walk through time and discuss the people and events that make America what it is today. In today's episode, we are going to discuss who really discovered America. In the education system, we are told that Christopher Columbus was the first one to discover North America. After all, there is an expression, Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1492. This leads us to believe that he was the first one to set foot on this continent. In fact, this is untrue, because he discovered this in 1492, but there is many years of recorded history before that. So tune in and listen to the episode to really discover who discovered America first. There are many different theories to describe who discovered America first. These theories can be found in myths, in wise tales, and even recorded history. The problem with the early years of American history is that there was little recording of the history. These cultures really didn't think that we needed to record the histories for the future. So this is what makes their job a little harder in really figuring out this question, because we don't know whether this is a myth or actual truth. I'm going to cover a few different of these theories, and we'll pick them apart to see who really lines up with the facts. So the first theory is that the Clovis people, which were the Asian people that walked across the land bridge 15,000 years ago. The facts that really back this up is that 80% of indigenous people have DNA from these Clovis people. But they might have been like the first people to live on North America, but when we say discover, we really refer to the Europeans and when they discovered North American continent. So these people may answer the question of where the Native Americans came from, but they didn't really discover North America in the sense that we were talking here. The next theory is that during the 6th century, there was Irish monks. There was a gentleman named Saint Brandon who sailed to North America on a corack, which is a wood-framed boat with animal skins. Now, there is actually no proof of this, but it is found in Irish Smith. The next theory is the 10th century Vikings. In 1000 AD, Viking Leif Erikson sailed to Vinland, which was the name he coined for Canada due to the growth and the vines. Now, this was in Newfoundland, which is a province of Canada. He returned to Greenland shortly after due to Native American hostilities. There is actually a day, October 9th, named Leif Erikson Day. The next theory is that during the 15th century, there was Chinese that discovered America first. Zhang, who was a Muslim Chinese mariner from the Ming Dynasty, supposedly discovered North America 71 years before Columbus. He was an explorer who explored Southeast Asia, India, the east coast of Africa, and other countries. He supposedly explored the east coast of America and had settlements in South America. This theory is not widely accepted because historians believe it has holes. There are some historians that have written long and in-depth books to back up this theory that the Chinese discovered it first. Now, as I stated, not many historians believe this because there are holes. So, with these different theories, who really discovered America first? It could be the Irish monks, the Vikings, or the Chinese. Now, I don't really have 100% positivity on this answer, but I'm going to say the Vikings because that's the most logical explanation for this. So I'm going to give you a little bit of information on Vikings, and you can make up your own decision. Now, the Vikings, they were North seafarers and raiders. They explored most of North Atlantic islands along with North Africa and even the Middle East. European exploration was limited due to the powerful cultures such as the Saxons. The Vikings end up clashing with the Saxons and other cultures in Europe, so they decided not to explore that area very much. They raided settlements and small villages. They weren't really agricultural and moved around a lot. The Scandinavians started to move to Iceland, so the Viking moved as well. The Viking Age ended due to culturalization of the Christians. Christianity was introduced, and they kind of went into regular European culture. Now, this describes the culture itself of the Vikings, but really doesn't answer the question of who discovered America first. So in order to do this, I'm going to describe a couple people that will give you background to the actual person who discovered it, which was Leif Erikson. Now, Eric the Red, he was the father of Leif Erikson. He had fiery temper and a red beard and hair, which is why he was called Eric the Red. He was actually banned from Norway due to, quote-unquote, too many killings. And the family eventually settled in Iceland. As we can tell from this, Eric the Red, he was quite a violent gentleman. He actually got, in this area, Vikings were known to be very violent. And for him to be banned from the country shows that he was very violent, even to Viking standards. Eric was also exiled from Iceland for murder. Due to this exile, he discovered Greenland. He returned to Iceland and he ended up leading 25 ships for colonization. Now, this kind of surprises me. A guy who was banned for killing too many people was granted 25 ships to lead to colonize Greenland. Now, this could be true, could not be true, but I checked many sources and this is supposed to be backed up. As I stated before in my intro, there's not many actual recordings of this era. What the information that I gathered is from the little recorded history that we have in between myth and legend. You'll find that in early American history, and especially in ancient history, that we have to pick through the legends and the myths to really decide whether it is actually true or not. So, beside off my rant, now let's go talk about Leif Erikson, who was his son, which discovered America. His life is recorded in many sagas. Now, sagas, they're not really known for having truth in them, so just keep that in mind. He accidentally discovered America when sailing to Greenland, and he named it Vinland due to the grapes and the fertility of the land. Now, we don't really have much detail about Leif Erikson's life. All we know is that he made a couple trips back to Greenland to try to get people to come to North America. He only landed on North America once, and that was his initial discovery of it. He did not return to it since. So, there's another question that arises. What happened between the time that the Vikings discovered North America and the time that Columbus landed? To answer this question, we can look towards the Polynesians. The Polynesians, they were sailors that lived in Samoa, and they sailed in these huge sailing canoes that could hold up to 50 people. They actually discovered Hawaii and Easter Island. Now, archaeologists also found artifacts in Chile that pointed towards the Polynesian colonization there. In California, their Native Americans, their fish hooks and canoes closely resemble the Polynesian counterparts. This showed that the Polynesians had some influence on the Native Americans at the time. Why did they leave for colonization, though, the Polynesians? They left because in their culture, the eldest son inherited the father's property and tribe. If that father had other younger sons, they would not inherit anything. This encouraged them to leave their tribe and to try to discover other islands and other lands to rule. I thought it was kind of interesting, though, that the Polynesians had such a great impact on the Native Americans in California. I never really thought that the ancient cultures at the time before Columbus settled would have a great influence on the Native Americans. I always assumed that they would have thought and invented their own inventions such as the fish hooks and canoes. But this actually shows that they had outside influence into their culture. Well, that about ends this episode. Thank you for listening. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes or whatever podcast app you use to get notified of every episode. I apologize for such a short episode because there's not really much information on this period before Columbus really landed on North America. After 1492 and after Columbus discovered this country, we will go into a lot more detail and we'll have a lot longer episodes. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, feel free to email me at insideamericanhistory@gmail.com. I also have a YouTube channel that I will post these episodes on, and it is also named Inside American History. Make sure you listen to next week's podcast to gain another glimpse into the complicated and in-depth history of America. Have a great day.